So, the next episode of Death Battle is going to be Po from Kung Fu Panda versus the immortal Iron Fist from Marvel Comics. So, inherently, Iron Fist is hands down the better fighter, being a top 3 fighter in his own universe, even higher, and being trained and being a master of multiple martial arts styles. So it's pretty certain that Iron Fist is going to have the fighting experience down. As for speed, there's a lot of crazy fucking scaling for Iron Fist. They go off of like a lot of crazy microsecond reaction timing you could give them. And that is certainly going to be greater than whatever Po has done. So I've already seen Po do all of that crazy shit. Like dodging lasers and dodging all that shit. We haven't really seen him do that much. But what Po really shines is in his abilities. Which kind of flips the table on this fight entirely. Well, both have chi manipulation and chi absorption, like Iron Fist can enhance his physical abilities with his chi. Yeah. Po can, absorb chi, he has mind hacks. So does Iron Fist, but the problem is, though, Po has fought off mind manipulation before in a TV show, which is canon. So already, Po can counter a lot of Iron Fist's abilities. And Iron Fist, being a martial artist, knows pressure points. Not gonna work since when Tai Lung used his pressure point punch, it was ineffective. And also, Po can just take him to the spirit realm, where that negates both of their resurrection abilities they both have. And in there, Po gets a massive boost of energy. As in his fight with Kai when he did that. Yeah, I'm keeping this pretty short since there's not much for me to really say. Basically, what it comes down to is Iron Fist is the better fighter, and he is the faster of the two. But Po just has multiple counters to what Iron Fist has. Po could have do a hand wave motion and make you forget things. And I don't think Iron Fist has any counters to mind manipulation. So being able to take people with him to the spirit realm, which gives Po a massive energy boost. So yeah, I think Po is a video that is sure to definitely piss off some people. But before I do start, I want to make this fucking clear. If you like any of these matchups, that is fine. I am not saying you're not allowed to like a certain matchup. That's not what I'm trying to say here. This is a video about matchups that I personally think should not happen on Death Battle. I just need to make that clear before anyone decides to automatically dislike the video without hearing my points. This is a personally... what's the word? This is just my opinion on fights I do not think should happen. That's all I'm going to say. So coming in at number 30, I have Thor versus Vegeta. Now this one I personally don't have that big of an issue with it would happen. I just don't want it to happen because I'm afraid Death Battle is going to botch the research and play lenient towards another franchise. Granted, they've been doing that for years, being lenient towards characters and screwing over other characters. Well, this one concerns me since they literally are probably going to have Vegeta win, even though the winner is generally considered Thor. For some reason, Death Battle only has show planet level, which is fucking absurd. I just don't want it to happen because I'm afraid that they're going to be biased towards more characters. Like, we all know Death Battle has been biased towards characters in the past. Like, it's no secret that they've screwed over certain characters so another character can win. Like, they've done this with Marvel and DC characters, anime characters in general. It's literally all coming down to that. I just do not want them to, again, screw over another character. And there would be another returning character for a third fight. Both the max. No, sorry. This would be Vegeta's second one, and this would be Thor's third. But I just don't want more returning characters in Death Battle for a while. Well, that's just my opinion on this matchup as a whole. It's literally just, I just don't want it to happen because I think they're going to kind of botch the research. So coming in at number 30, I have Thor versus Vegeta. Now this one I personally don't have that big of an issue with it would happen. I just don't want it to happen because I'm afraid Death Battle is going to botch the research and play lenient towards another franchise. Granted, they've been doing that for years, being lenient towards characters and screwing over other characters. Well, that one concerns me since they literally are probably going to have Vegeta win, even though the winner is generally considered Thor. Like, for some reason, Death Battle only has show like planet level, which is fucking absurd. And I just don't want it to happen because I'm afraid that they're going to be biased towards more characters. Like, we all know Death Battle has been biased towards characters in the past. Like, it's no secret that they've screwed over certain characters so another character can win. Like, they've done this with Marvel and DC characters, anime characters in general. It's literally all coming down to that. I just do not want them to, again, screw over another character. And there would be another returning character for a third fight. Both the max. No, sorry. This would be Vegeta's second one, and this would be Thor's third. But I just don't want more returning characters in Death Battle for a while. Well, that's just my opinion on this matchup as a whole. It's literally just, I just don't want it to happen because I think... number 28. I have Invincible versus Superboy. Literally just like the connections are, they're just heroes from, yeah, the sons of legendary heroes with black hair. And again, my issue is this is a huge curve. Superboy decimates Invincible so hard. It literally wouldn't even be a fight because these two physically cannot brawl. Like Superboy has, I think, been able to shatter dimensions or shatter timelines or something like that. What the fuck is Mark gonna do? He has not done that shit yet. And you think that he's gonna be able to do anything to fucking Superboy? Superboy literally would take every stat line in the fight, which would end in a enormous curb stomp for one of the characters. Anyway, I'll see you at number 20. So, number 27 is, of course, Blade versus Buffy. I personally just find this matchup just to be kind of boring as a whole. That's why it's here. It's like, they're both vampire hunters, and that's pretty much legit. I think the only thing they have in common is that they both kill vampires. Granted, that's the exact same thing with, you know, Alexander Anderson from Hellsing, the exact same fucking connections. But I don't really care for Blade vs. Buffy. It's just uninteresting. It just kind of bores me. And that's what's on the list. It's just boring. It's uninteresting. So coming in at number 26. Yep, number 26 is Saitama versus Krillin. Do I really need to explain? The connections are they're just bald and get overshadowed by other heroes. It's literally just it's just boring. It's a boring matchup as a whole. It's just literally they're bald characters, so have them fight. Putting me to sleep is how boring it is. Literally, Krillin would probably one-shot Saitama if we're being completely honest. Because Saitama, one, likes to be pushed around. He likes to be knocked around for a while. So he's gonna probably take a hit from a Destructo Disc and get killed. Either way, even if that was not the case, Krillin would still shitstorm Saitama. It's literally just an unearned fight in general to do. I just don't know how to explain it. It's literally just boring. Number 25 is going to be Taskmaster versus Seth from Street Fighter. Now, at first, I kind of liked this matchup. I thought it could be interesting. But then it dawned on me after a while that I don't know what the connections are really. So I was like, I'll just Google what Seth can do. Because when I Googled it, I got that it's an exact same power matchup. They literally both can just copy fighting styles. What then would it translate to, them just doing the exact same thing, and it would just be kind of boring to watch. They both trade moves and trade more moves until one of them dies. That's literally how it would go. It would just be uninteresting to watch. Now we'll get into some of the good ones. At number 24, I have you from Persona versus Josuke from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I personally don't believe Persona matchups and JoJo matchups work in each other. Because it just ends in the JoJo character dying. The Persona characters usually have counters to what JoJo characters do. Time Stop. Persona 4 dealt with time manipulation. They're immune to time manipulation, kind of. Like Time Stop, it's basically not like erasing people from time. Like, that would still work. Like, if he fought Jotaro, he would be unaffected by his Time Stop ability. But I just feel like this flat out trying to happen since it's practically just a same character fight at the end of the day. And I just trying to find that this kind of surface level again. And also, we all know how the fight would realistically start. You would make a remark about Josuke's hair and they would fight. It would literally just be kind of predictable in the long scheme of things. So that's all I really have to say about you versus Josuke. So for number 23, it's sort of confused since I came across multiple ideas for the same character. I didn't know which one was worse, so I went with all three of them. So starting off with the first one is Dante from Devil May Cry versus Archer Emiya from Fate. I just don't know why the fuck people want this. It's like they're both red-haired people who wear jackets. Is that all the connections that they honestly have? That they have white hair and wear red jackets? Like, how more boring can you get? That's literally the same connections as Ragnar versus Dante. It's literally just a boring mirror matchup. And also, I'm pretty sure Dante shit stomps. No, actually, it depends, honestly. But for the next two, it's a loophole. and that is Deku versus Archer Emiya, or Deku versus Shiro. Both of them are awful. I think the only connections that they have is that they're both heroes for justice, if I'm correct on that. Okay, I don't know which one of these three are the worst, so that's why they're all on here. We're going over Deku versus Archer first. Yeah, Deku's fucked. Deku is literally fucking dead. He has nothing he can do to kill Archer. Archer has many counters to what Deku can do. One sec. Okay. Back on track. Archer has so many fucking abilities on him that can fuck over Deku. Like, I think he has like stat negation, he has the piercing hearts, which is a one-hit kill move. And then there's Shiro. This why Shiro versus Deku, just why? Is it cursed? Probably. It probably is cursed. Because, again, it's just a borderline one-dimensional mirror matchup. Look at this translate to, they both want to be heroes of justice, so have them fucking fight. And again, pretty sure Shiro fucking stomps, since, every single round fate is in fact canon and should be used. So, like, the novels, the manga, the anime, everything is usable for Shiro that he's a part of. And again, compatibility is an issue in all three of these. We have one where Archer dies to Dante. At least I think he dies. Then we have Deku versus Archer, which ends in Archer literally fucking destroying Deku in a matter of seconds. And then we have Shiro versus Deku, which I'm fucking confused on, since people either say Shiro fucking stomps or dies. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure Shiro does win via having a way bigger arsenal than Deku. So at number 22, I have Korra versus Rey from Star Wars. Literally, I just find this fight just ultimately fucking boring. And also, both characters are pretty well hated in their own aspect of things. Rey being probably one of the most hated Star Wars character of all time, and Korra having a very controversial character as a whole. And also, Rey fucking, Rey should have won since the Force can counteract elemental elements, which poses issues in the long haul. Yeah, to be honest, I don't really have much to say about this matchup, since I don't really care about either of these characters enough to make a full-on rant, like I will later in the video. But it's just boring. I don't think this should ever happen. Star Wars is already dead. Avatar is already dead. And they just shouldn't have been. Okay, so the next one, at number 22, is Iron Man versus Urza Scarlet. Now, this fight has probably been debunked already, since they're bringing Batman back now for another episode, for whatever fucking reason. Well, these two basically have no connections outside having many armors that they could use. Honestly, that's just pretty boring to, I guess, have as a connection. It's like having a character with a big arsenal fight another character with a big arsenal, because they have large arsenals. It's literally just boring. Iron Man would obliterate Urza in a matter of seconds, and it would literally just be unfun. It would be boring. The only thing good this fight would be is to just piss off Fairy Tail fans. That's about all this fight would offer, is just to piss off Fairy Tail fans even more about how weak their universe is, which would probably be funny. to actually. Sulk versus Lightning is at number 20. Both god killers with lightning swords. It's just, in my opinion, it's a little boring is all, is what my issue is. I mean, the only benefit I actually see is that at least it's not another Final Fantasy VII character, what I'm getting a little sick of. But if I had to pick a reason for why it's on the list, then it would be because it is just it's just the same character matchup that both are, god killers. Well, granted, that's I think the same connection for Wonder Woman versus Lightning. But anyway, this is about Sulk versus Lightning. And people just generally assume Sulk wins, so I guess he wins, but I don't care. I personally don't like this fight, and I don't think it should happen. Okay, now we're going to be getting into the more, meaty death battles. By that I mean I have more to actually say about them. So for this one, it is Cinderfall versus Azula from Avatar. This fight is just crazy girls with fire so having fight. I don't want this for a few reasons. Number one is the same element matchup, and I'll explain why those usually are bad. The only way to bypass that is one, you AP stomp them, or you have an ability that fucks them over, like being immune to fire, or being able to eat fire, for example. Those two, one would counteract what one character can do, or being able to, block fire like Azula can. Azula has the ability to block other people's fire attacks, which one isn't opposed an issue for Cinder. And them being both crazy is literally, again, a same character matchup. Now, is there anything wrong with the same character matchup? No. There's nothing wrong with having a same power matchup or a same elemental matchup. The issue I have is that it's just going to be a little boring to watch, and it's literally them throwing the exact same thing at each other. Like, Booster Gold vs. Cable is a solid example of a thing I like. Yes, they have the exact same abilities to time travel, but they're separate, but their characters are so far different that the banter is good. You can have good dialogue between them. Having a same character matchup, like them both being crazy, cannot really lead to good banter. Like, yeah, you could just have more and more get crazy, but that's the extent of it. And the same elemental abilities are just either one going to cancel out or one AP stomps one. And that's really all I need to say about this one. And also, I don't fucking trust Death Battle with a Ruby character. Since y'all know when Maka versus Ruby happens, they're having Ruby win. And I'm nervous to think that they're going to actually try to pull a Azula win here. So number 18 is going to be Scorpion from Mortal Kombat versus Cinder from the Killer Instinct franchise. Both popular fighting game characters that use fire. Yeah, this is why it's literally going to be a repeat of Cinder versus Azula. It's literally just like the exact same points I made. It's just going to be a boring fight with no stakes. The only way this fight would end is if one, you AP stomp, or you have an ability to be either immune to fire, or being able to control fire. That's literally all this fight is a same power matchup, because they're both on popular fighting games. So for number 17, I have Kenshi from Mortal Kombat versus Daredevil from Marvel Comics, and the connections are They're both blind ninjas. So, wow, you guys really found terrific connections there. And before you guys instant being rude, all this is just acting. It's not to be taken seriously. I'm not actually, I guess you could say, mad about these matchups. I just need to make that fucking clear that I'm not mad about these matchups. So anything I say is just acting. It is not to be taken seriously. Well, granted, the idea is not happening is what you're taking seriously. Like me, let's say, roasting an idea and saying it's shit and trying to happen is just acting. But Kenshi versus Daredevil is just boring. Daredevil already had his best matchup, and Kenshi has other opponents that, aren't the exact same person. I don't know who really even likes this idea. Like, both Kenshi and Daredevil, it would just be a same fucking character. Yeah, same character matchup, since all they have is them being blind and them both being ninjas. I'm pretty sure Kenshi stomps due to his telekinesis ability or whatever it's fucking called. He stomps Daredevil that way. So on the long haul, it's just a little boring. Number 16, I have Magneto versus Accelerator from a certain magical index. From what I've been told, both of these guys just have telekinetic abilities, while Magneto just has magnetism. Accelerator has a better control over telekinesis, like he can send whatever he wants flying. It's not just contained to metal, but it's technically still a same power matchup in some regard of both having telekinetic abilities. For who wins, I don't know. People highball Accelerator to like fucking star level, and people say Magneto can fight Herald tiers, so therefore he wins. I think both of those arguments are pretty stupid in the long haul. Because just because you could fight someone like in a Herald tier doesn't really mean you win in a fight. And people usually say that, oh yeah, Magneto's weak to wood, so that's all Accelerator needs to do. What I'm pretty sure to decanonize Magneto being weak to a piece of wood. I'm pretty sure that got decanoned. But people usually say that Magneto could just rip out the iron in his blood. The main issue is that Accelerator can actually protect its blood, from what I've been told. And I'm assuming that's actually true, since I did a little bit of research and it turns out he can actually protect the inside of his organs. So if you can't rip out that and Accelerator finds out that Magneto can only control a magnetical thing, then Magneto is kinda fucked. But that's just my opinion on this one. So, for number 15, I have Megatron versus Frieza. Nemesis already made a video talking about why this matchup just shouldn't happen, and I kind of agree. It's because people usually seem to, I guess, use composited Megatron for connections. But retrospectively, they're just people who hate their rivals, who are also purple and silver. Not really the best of setup connections, besides being, again, just a same character matchup in the long haul. But I personally just find a little just uninteresting. I've personally never liked this matchup either way, so it would have made the list regardless, since I just personally find the matchup just flat out boring and uninteresting. And also, it's a controversial call. People either say Megatron stomps, or Frieza stomps. It's one or the other. Number 14 is probably going to get me a lot of shit for this one, is Akuma versus Shao Kahn. Sorry. Yeah, Akuma versus Shao Kahn, yeah, that's correct. I fucking thought they were from the same franchise for a minute. Well, the connections are, they're both villains from popular fighting games. That's realistically all they have, is that they're both video game bosses from fighting games that are popular. You literally could have basically Chaos fight him, because he's a video game boss from what was a popular game. I mean, like, there's so many fighting game bosses, like, you could do Geese Howard versus Akuma, because, again, popular fighting game. And you could do Hayashi versus Shao Kahn, because again, a boss. It's a fighting game that is popular. So, this them being video game bosses from popular fighting games is just boring. So, at number 13, I have Virgil versus Satsuki from Kill La Kill. I feel like people just hate Kill La Kill at this point. Think of it, almost all their spite matchups. Sorry, all their fights are like spite matchups. Shadow versus Ryuko is a smite fight. Spite fight. Virgil versus Satsuki, another spite fight. Rago, I think how you pronounce their mom's name, versus the girl from Pokemon Sun and Moon, the villain, is also a spite fight. There's one more, but that's after this one. So, the connections for these two are, they're both like siblings with swords, is what I've been told. And also this fight ends in Satsuki getting legit disintegrated. She literally cannot kill Virgil. Virgil has so many crazy abilities that it's going to be near impossible for Satsuki to do realistically anything. And besides, just get killed in the long haul of the whole fight. That Devil May Cry and Kill La Kill cannot fight each other. Like, it's like why Dante versus Ryuko cannot work. Dante is too powerful. We have somebody who at best is small planet level versus somebody who I believe has been in the multiversal range. And you think that that is a fair comparison for a fight. That's unfair for a character. It's like Satsuki is even weaker than Ryuko, so at best she's probably like country level. And Virgil should scale to Dante. And if I want to go with what Satsuki also scales to Ryuko, at best that's small planet level. And if I want to do that route, Virgil scales to like multiversal. So, either way, Satsuki gets. Number 12 is Mako from Kill La Kill versus, I think it's Chi from Persona. Like, literally the only connections I could find is that their personalities are similar. I don't even know if that's true. I literally can't find connections for these two anywhere. But my main issue with this fight is that Mako literally gets fucking murdered. And that's just unacceptable to me. To send a character to their death is when it's like, oh yeah, they do not have a chance of winning. It's just unfair to me. I don't like fights like that, where you're sending a character who is at a enormous disadvantage that they cannot win. And I find that a little disrespectful to some characters. And I like Mako. Mako's a cool character. And she deserves an actual matchup she can win. I can win, not should win, so don't try to say that. I just find matchup like, if one character cannot win, it's unfair. Now, Granbull said that, well, spite fights can be good if it has potential. Well, that is true. Like, Ryuko versus Atrocious is fucking terrible, but it has good animation potential. You could use that argument, but this fight realistically doesn't have that good of potential in the long haul. Since there's really not much I think Mako can do, really. In the realistically, she would like one shot, and that's just unfun to watch. Seeing a character you know can't win, lasting as long as they should. It's so at number 11, I have Bowser versus Godzilla. Both reptiles apparently is the only connection, and I just really don't care for this matchup, really. Like, we all have those certain matchups that you just cannot give a good reason for why you do not like it. And this falls in this category. If it happened, it could be it could be fun to see, but like, Bowser has better opponents, realistically. Like, I would rather prefer him maybe to fight Eggman, since that's like the only opponent that comes to mind at the moment. And Godzilla probably shouldn't return. Like, the only good thing this fight would bring would be a 3D fight. Obviously, kaiju fights need to be in 3D to capture that magic. So overall, I don't really hate this idea. It's just an idea I just don't really care for and find it just a little, I guess, boring, since it's just like lizards or like reptiles or whatever. Overall, this is probably like one of the out of all the ideas, this would probably be the one I'd be most okay with happening. And no, this list is not in order. Oh, what is the worst or the best? Number 1 definitely is the worst. That I will say. Number 1 is by far the worst, in my opinion. And it was going to be number 1 either way. If it was ranked, number 1 would still be the same. But, boy, number 10. 10 more of these to finally go. So at number 10, I have Nero versus Kirito from Sword Art Online. 1 second. The connection's right here for this one. Digital coded protagonists who are seen as Gary Stews via particular learning and adapting to every issue that they come into contact with. And before you guys bring up that also the both chosen ones, Neo was never the chosen one, just to correct that misinformation. It was always Agent Smith. But a few reasons why I personally do not want this is the fact that fuck Sword Art Online. The anime is fucking shit. Kirito is a shitty character. And overall, I just really this is mostly just here because I just fucking hate Kirito as a character. And also, it's just like they both do the exact same shit. It's just boring to me. And also, Neo I'm fine with being in Death Battle, but no, just fuck Kirito. He doesn't deserve to be in Death Battle. He is one of the worst animes of all time, in my opinion. Well, the reason why this matchup is shit, besides, Kirito being a shitty character, is that it's just uninteresting to me. It's just tedious, I guess. And that's really all I have to say. I just don't care. So, at number 9, I have Shrek versus Han Solo. This is by far one of the worst ideas I have ever seen. Now, granted, I've said before, if you like any of these ideas, that's fucking fine. I'm not going to say you're not allowed to like an idea, because that'd be fucking stupid. I'm not Kimimura. So, what's wrong with this matchup? It's literally like they're both grumpy characters who get into sticky situations all the time. It's just boring. Like, that is so boring. You could literally find so many other characters like that. Like, that's pretty common. Like, I'm pretty sure that's the same connection for Han Solo versus Indiana Jones, that they're both grumpy characters who get into sticky situations all the time. It's literally just uninteresting, it's boring, and it is fun to have. I actually have met people who like this, and I respect their opinion like something, and I hope they respect my opinion to fucking hate this matchup. So number 8 is Kaguya from Naruto versus Yawatch from Bleach. To be honest, I really don't even know anything about this matchup. It was only on the list because I asked a friend for one he wanted to see, and he suggested this. And I did a little bit of research, and I could see why there's not very many connections to go off of, besides them both being, I guess, villains or something. But yet again, I from what I think I remember, I think Yawatch isn't even a villain anymore. And again, Yawatch would obliterate Kaguya. Kaguya is not even a planet buster. She needed chakra from almost the entire planet to even get to planet level. So realistically, Kaguya's kind of fucked in this fight. And also, I just don't trust Death Battle with using a Bleach character after what they pulled with Naruto versus Ichigo. But yeah, I'm just not very strong suited on this one. This is probably the one I know the least about, if I'm being honest. Well, the next one and that is Baelith from Fire Emerald, I think, versus Kakashi from Naruto. It's literally like they're just teachers. That's literally it. It's just that they're teachers. It's kind of like Obi-Wan versus Kakashi, but minus having a student turn evil. Yeah, those connections are pretty boring, if I were to say something. And again, just a mirror matchup, in all retrospect. And for those of you who don't know what a mirror matchup is, it's basically like, it's the same as a same character matchup or a same elemental matchup. It's a mirror matchup. In this case, them being both teachers is a mirror matchup. That's the issue here. Is that, like, it's just a one-note connection. And that's all. Number 6 is Ichigo versus Sasuke. The connections, they just use swords. Well, that's basically it. It's just boring. It's boring, and Ichigo is definitely going to be fighting Inosuke, so this fight would be utterly fucking stupid to do. It's literally like a same weapon matchup. It's like why people want Raphael versus Electra, because they're both red and have the same weapon. It's just boring, and I don't give a shit about this matchup. Number 5. We're getting real close to wrapping up this whole list, and that is Silver versus Trunks. It's literally that they're just time travelers from a destroyed future who come back and try to save everyone. I think it's a connection, and I'm confident on it that is right. But that's literally just boring. You literally could have Cable fight either of them based off that knowledge. And again, it's just another mirror matchup. And also, Trunks probably obliterates Silver pretty easily. So it wouldn't be that interesting to see. It would literally just be like a Mario vs. Sonic thing again, where Mario gets bodied for the entire fight. Besides, it would be Silver getting his ass handed to him by Trunks. There's really nothing else I need to say. So it's just a boring, same thing matchup of both have the ability to time travel. So at number 4, I have Gilgamesh versus Dr. Doom. A matchup I actually used to like, but now I hate. For a few reasons. Number 1, Fate has awful matchups just in general. But the actual reason is, Gilgamesh gets fucking bullied in this fight. Since, one, you have the people who highball Fate, like absurdly highball them. Like, realistically, Gilgamesh isn't even really all that powerful. He's powerful through his hacks and noble phantasms, like the Gates of Babylon, but realistically that's just going to be a joke to Doom. Like, Doom's been able to take hits from Thor's hammer, the Hulk. He's taken hits from a lot of powerful opponents. Like, he's fought the Silver Surfer, Galaxus, the Avengers, consistently. And this is how the fight would realistically go. Doom blitzes and strips Gilgamesh of his abilities like he's did to the Beyonder and the Silver Surfer, which he's easily going to be able to do. That's how the fight realistically goes, since he has no counteract to somebody just stripping his abilities away from him. And even if you want to highball him, if you want to highball Gilgamesh the multiversal, Doom is also a multiversal threat. From what he's been able to do, as I mentioned previously, like fighting the Avengers, taking hits from Thor's hammer. But Doom has so many abilities just to fuck him over, like time travel. He can scramble his brains. He could swap bodies with him, which is something Gilgamesh has never actually dealt with in my knowledge. He's never dealt with somebody swapping bodies, which is an issue for him, since he's going to have a hard time dealing with somebody like Doom, who is more experienced than him, is faster than him, can counteract mostly what he can do, since Gilgamesh is going to have a pretty hard time breaking through Doom's force field. And it's like, now again, being able to take hits from Thor's hammer, he's been able to... Dr. Doom has been able to absorb the God Blast from Thor. No, he absorbed the Odin Force from Thor, actually, my bad. And you think Gilgamesh can beat Doom? The answer to that is no. Doom gets bullied pretty hard in this fight. Even if you want to go off the, again, him being a multiversal threat or higher, all Doom needs to do is just grab a hold of him and just strip him of his abilities. And if that can't work, then that is interesting. But I'm confident the power stripping would. Coming in at number 3, we have Spawn versus the Doomslayer. It's just kind of a whatever match. This is just another one I just personally just don't really care for. I don't really have much of an opinion on it. They're both like demon killers with large arsenals, I guess, is the connections for these two. But yet again, you need to look at the thing here. Again, it falls under a same character matchup. And again, I said there's nothing wrong with the same character matchup, because it makes your fight kind of boring. So overall, it's not a bad fight. It's just boring. Is all. It's just boring and uninteresting to me. So, closing in, and at number 2 is Archie Knuckles versus the Juggernaut. Again, this is just going to be like a repeat of the Doomslayer versus Spawn. It's just not interesting as a whole. I'm not a fan of the most recent Sonic matchup. Yeah, not a fan of the most recent Sonic matchups, in my opinion. Like, I've never really liked this matchup. It's like they're both red and they smash it. Let's really see others. Now, this fight is thematical enough to actually be entertaining as a whole. It's just, again, it's just that they're both red and have anger issues. It just doesn't really have a solid foundation, besides the fact that it would just be entertaining, to watch. And that's really odd to say. I'm just not a fan of this matchup, and just kind of, I guess, bores me a little bit. Is all. Kind of short, but it's just mostly because I just don't really have much to say about this. Why it's so high? It's because that's the order I actually wrote the list. Number 1. Y'all know what it is by now. Like, even if you didn't already know, you should know based on what I've said previously about certain Fate matchups. So I even hinted at this beforehand. But number 1 is a Thor Pendragon or Saber versus Vader from Star Wars. And again, I have to fucking make this clear. What the fuck is Vader gonna do? The Force, Vader's main use of weapon, is again going to be useless against her. Fate and Star Wars cannot work, because you're putting a character at a huge disadvantage, not letting them use their main ability. It would basically be having, let's say, someone having an ice ability, and then having another character be completely immune to ice. It would be, usually, that's unfair to a character since they're not going to be able to harm him. Same thing applies here. Vader cannot harm her. He can't force choke her, he can't crush her organs. People usually just say that, oh yeah, he could, still... No, never mind. I'm not even sure precognition would work on her, since again, being an astral being, he can't really do anything against her. And also him being able to sense the darkness within her, I'm also questionable on. Since again, astral being, force being ineffective on them, is an issue. Now, the main reason why I don't like this, besides the obvious fucking spite fight this is that people make up connections for these two. People say, oh, well, they're both the chosen one. Saber 1 was never the chosen one. Camelot was always destined to fall. She was never the chosen one. Well, what about them being trained by a wise mentor? Merlin never trained her, so that's another thing that's been doing. And all the other small things they have, like both having a kid who turned them back, is literally just like a surface level connection. It's literally just so basic. And also, if you want to go off the failed chosen ones route, you could basically just have Agent Smith fight Vader, since he actually was the chosen one. He failed at it, yes. So failed chosen one. So there you go. Vader versus Agent Smith. Perfect battle by that knowledge. Yeah, I usually get a lot of shit for saying this matchup is awful, because it is. Vader is unable to do anything. That's unfair. As someone who loves both characters, it is unfair to put someone at a huge disadvantage in a fight. And also, for the whole fight, Vader would just become a human ragdoll for Saber to fucking destroy. yeah, Vader 1 would have the speed advantage, but what's that going to do when he literally is outclassed in a lot of other categories that are important to the fight? Again, the hacks apart, she cancels out. I'm not going to talk about who's more powerful since Fate can get really fucking complicated. I don't want to seem like the people who like they highball Fate. Like people say Saber is like out reversal. I don't fucking buy that. Because that's fucking absurd. But the only thing Vader can do is just use his lightsaber, and maybe he could throw shit at her, but that's all he's going to be able to do is just throw a bunch of shit at her. And it's just going to end in him getting, obliterated. I know people usually say, well, she can comfort him in his dying moments after he turns back to... Since when has Death Battle ever done something like that? When has Death Battle ever actually gone out of their way to give a character, let's say, an emotional death? Like the characters bond over the last few moments. Besides All Might vs. Might Guy, since that actually was extremely important to their character. Besides that, Death Battle hardly ever does that for characters, have them go out of their way and do something like that. And, to put the final nail in this fucking coffin, Death Battle 1 should stay away from Fate. 1, Fate is extremely complicated to understand. I'm not a Fate fan. I'm not touching the lore. I'm just saying this matchup shit in general. And, again, Nemesis Blood Rice says this has a lot of connections. It realistically doesn't have that many connections. And people say, well, they have a ton of other connections. I debunked 2 of the biggest connections they had. Them being trained by Ultra's mentor, never trained her. Them being the chosen one, she was never the chosen one. So again, what do they have besides just minor surface level connections? The answer to that is hardly anything. There's nothing really deep connection-wise besides just minor surface level connections they have. And I think the only things they do have in common that I forget is like this minor similarities, like they both had someone like Zero and Luke Skywalker who helped them. That is still surface level. Like, it's like grasping at straws, basically. But anyway, I'm done ranting about Saber versus Darth Vader now. I hope you enjoyed this video. Probably not, because I'm predicting this video is going to trigger a lot of people. But do I really care? No, not really. I don't really care if people get offended. If I don't like a matchup, it's my opinion. I gotta say what I feel like I want to. But I'm getting off topic about it. I hope you all have a lovely day.